Appreciate that, Russ.
Well, Coach Brown, I haven't read a lot of the reports still going. When you mentioned going good from great, that's a process, is
For sure, yeah.
in terms of learning from your mistakes too. Could you kind of elaborate on that too, as far as when you're going through this process?
Anytime you're trying to take that step, the funnest way to learn is when you win. But the reality of it is the best way to learn is to experience heartbreak, you know, failure, however you want to call it, and so you can take that moment and really feel how it, or really see how it feels to not accomplish a goal that you think that you should attain. Not only that, it also allows you to see how hard it is, and um, every moment that you have an opportunity to do something great. If you just rest or think that these 5 minutes or these 20 seconds aren't insignificant, it'll come back to bite you in the behind. And so going through that at times can be painstakingly tough, but sometimes necessary.
Do you ever do? Why I bring that up, because I've read Sun Tzu Art of War many times, and the one thing that you're not only trying to study the enemy, you're trying to study yourself, and that's what they're trying to learn from them. What they do.
Yes.
Okay.
100%. It's more, in my opinion, and I don't feel like I have all the answers, but in my opinion, when you do it, it's more about yourself than your opponent or what you're facing. It's the mental discipline, the physical discipline that you have to be able to go accomplish the task while being connected at the highest level.
Is there anything that stood out to you watching that game back and that you kind of chose to highlight in film today?
No, I mean, obviously, like most teams, probably we had some controllables that we didn't control, mainly defensively, and at the end of the day, it doesn't change that we're a good offensive team. They're a good defensive team. We scored 119 points and shot 47% from the field. 21-3. I mean, I can go down the line. I don't think we shot well from the free throw line, but our turnovers were good and all that. That's enough to win a ball game. To give up 144 points on 50-something% from the field, 30 fast break points, and then 18 second chance points when a team's already shooting 55% from the field. That stings. That should sting. But a lot of those were controllables. Like your effort, your focus to detail, your communication. Those things are 100% in your control. Making shots, even turning the ball over. There are a handful of things, and most of them are offensive driven. Those aren't 100% in your control. But the things that I just said, which amount to great defensive teams, those are. And when you watch the film, we didn't do a good job in a handful of areas.
Mike, how do you try to motivate those controllables when so many of those seem to be like, come within?
You keep showing it, you keep teaching it, you keep demanding it. And now, are we a little better than last year? We were a little better than last year. But I would hope that that doesn't sit well with anybody, which I think it doesn't. I would hope it doesn't sit well with anybody on the team, because when you strive for greatness, everybody has to want to do it. And I feel like everybody from top to bottom within our group wants to do it.
There seems to be a lot of curiosity about this stretch. I mean, you guys had 5 of 6 coming into last night. You get the Celtics, T-Wolves, top teams in the league in this stretch as well. Yeah. Is there barometer, yardstick games, does that exist in your world? I know it does in like scouts and even executives, but does that exist in coaching at all to kind of see where you guys are at?
It's funny. If you're just talking about just the top team in the East and top team in the West, I don't know, maybe. Right. But I think if you look at the top 5 or 6 teams in the West, I think we've done a pretty good job. I think it's the middle of the pack teams that we struggled against at times. So I mean, it's always good to go against, whoever's the top of your conference because it usually brings the most out of people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean too much because you can go win. Like we can go win last night, and we can get beat by 15 versus a team that we think we should have won by 20.
Right.
So it does give you confidence and belief short term, but at the end of the day, you have to have some consistency at a high level on both sides of the ball and in the win column in order for it to pay off down the stretch.
Last night you were saying that, hey, it needs to come from within. I can bargain these guys all they want, but it's going to have to be from the players. Did you notice that at practice today, or was another run-of-the-mill practice today?
No, I thought it was a pretty good practice, and that's going to be a process too because guys are with us with this group here. Guys are constantly put in new positions that they haven't been in before, especially when being hunted, and especially when your head coach is demanding you to be great every time you step on the floor, whether it's in practice or shoot around or a game or whatever. And so the roles that these guys are in ain't just going to happen overnight, and they're going to be perfect in them. It's going to take some time, and there's a learning curve to it. And while we're learning, hopefully we're heading in the right direction with the wins too.
Do you think that takes having like a certain personality on your roster? Like De'Aaron's talked about being like a lead by example guy. I know you've seen progress from him there, but do you think it takes like a certain personality in order to talk to your teammates like that?
Yes and no. Tim Duncan is probably one of the quietest leaders I've been around, and even Steph to a certain degree. Now, early in their careers, they weren't. They had some older veterans around them that can help them or guide them down that path, But as time went on, and those guys learned, grew, got a little older, started to win, and know what that's like, experienced hardship and all that other stuff. In their own way, they were vocal leaders. And, when guys like that spoke up, it resonated very loudly, and not just with the players, And did they speak up all the time? No, but they did speak up, and when they did, it was very impactful.
How do you saw Phoenix recently, and obviously they had some injuries. How do you just kind of view them as an opponent, especially to kick off this weekend for you guys?
Very talented, They obviously haven't had a chance to have all three of their guys play together, but you got two talented Hall of Fame players that have won at the highest level, and a really good coach, and for Frank Vogel, his staff's really good, and it's going to be tough for us. There's, I said this before. There's no nights off in the NBA, and which makes the league extremely fun because you can get beat at any given time, and so to be able to play against a talented team like that, and especially after the loss last night, that's what makes this league special. Is you have a chance to go rectify how you feel right away.
Your record, obviously, fantastic so far. I mean, there's probably games that you still, like you mentioned last night, that wish you had on top of that. But from a rotational standpoint, does this feel like the most, at peace that you've been this season in terms of the production that you're getting and the results?
Yeah, but again, it can change at any time. Guys get opportunities at the end of the game. They get opportunities to be thrown into a game for maybe 20 seconds, and if they take advantage of them the right way, then who knows what'll happen. And I go back to that's how a guy like Keon ended up getting into the lineup. Yeah. He took advantage of it, and he's been playing well, and we've been playing well ever since.
Yeah. Did anybody stand out to you in those closing minutes last night? To the line of Keon that you're talking about?
A guy that always plays hard and tries to play the right way is Kessler, and I always try to find an opportunity to throw him in the game and and to see if he can build upon it. But he's a guy that has consistently done it. It just hadn't been as much opportunity for him as I'd like.
Are you part of the Secret Santa thing that they're doing as a team? And if so, have you picked out your present for whoever that is yet?
No, I'm not. That's just for players. It's always an entertaining thing, though.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's entertaining.
What's
Players are great at giving gifts, you know, and then our staff is really good at putting the rules on it. I think somebody brought I think a Bitcoin last year, and the Bitcoin is like, I mean, the Bitcoin has shot up, you know. That was probably the only time I wish I was involved in the season.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.